Telegram founder Pavel Durov arrested in France this week, Monday this week. Pavel was placed in custody by agents of France's National Anti-Fraud Office. According to French news, this TF1, he was arrested at the airport and was subject of a search warrant from OFMIN. Sounds like some France, alphabet agency. It's an investigative agency which combats child exploitation in France. So what are the charges? The French judge put Durov under formal investigation in a probe into organized crime on the messaging app Telegram. He was granted bail, which he used on the condition that he pays €5 million, reports twice a week to police, and does not leave French territory.
The charges are out of jail on bail right now. I'm showing that on screen. It looks like he's being
just FYI.
into.
He can totally afford $5 million. That is not a concern for him.
It's like $15 billion net worth. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, he's doing great. The charges: complicity in selling child sex abuse material, drug trafficking, fraud, abetting organized crime transactions, refusing to share information or documents with investigators when required to by law. The French judge said in the statement that Telegram has been used in various criminal cases, but almost entirely ignored judicial requisitions. Other French investigation services and public prosecutor offices, like the Belgian ones, shared a very similar observation. This prompted the Paris prosecutor's organized crime office to open a probe into possible criminal liability of the managers of this messaging service in the commission of these offenses. This probe began in February. Okay, so what does it mean for Durov now? He is being placed under formal investigation in France. It does not imply guilt, or does it necessarily lead to a trial? The only thing that we know is that the judge has considered that there is enough evidence to proceed with the probe, so the probe shall go on. This investigation could perhaps last years, or sent to trial, or shelved. But that's kind of where we are.
This really surprised me. I was shocked. I think a lot of people were shocked by this. We actually had reached out and tried to get Pavel on the podcast not too long ago. Apparently he's a very difficult person to contact. I think because he has these types of security
perhaps
concerns.
When you're getting probed, you don't want to go on a podcast.
Did you read? So this is the English translation of the actual letter for the prosecution of Pavel. So I don't know how many, there's 13 or so charges here, at least complicity charges, like complicity in fraud in an organized group. But some of these last ones, you mentioned the child sex trafficking, child pornography type things, illegal drugs, all of the sales, complicity in those things, not him actively doing it, but because Telegram hosts rooms where people were allegedly doing these things, then he is culpable according to these charges. Right. And also just generic things like this, David, providing cryptographic services designed to ensure confidentiality functions without proper declaration in accordance with the laws. What the hell does that mean? You're just providing encryption?
Sounds like they're trying to regulate math is what that sounds like.
It sounds like a Gary Gensler just come in and register your encryption service. What
Sir,
does
do you have a
this
license
mean?
for that math?
Seriously, providing cryptographic services ensuring only authentication functions or integrity control functions without prior declaration in accordance with the law to use encryption? What is this? Another charge, importing cryptographic services ensuring only authentication functions or integrity control functions without prior declaration in accordance with the law? I mean, this seems like it's more than just drugs and money laundering charges of people, by the way, not Pavel, but people using his app doing these things. And the charge is basically that Telegram should be present and monitoring all of the Telegram users across 1 billion different users in all of the groups and making sure that this stuff doesn't happen. It seems like some of these charges are specifically about Telegram using some encryption type services. And it should be told that Telegram does not use end-to-end encryption on all of its chat rooms, right?
It's not perfect secrecy. It's not perfect encryption.
Yes, and this has been a criticism of Telegram that I think is pretty valid and pretty warranted. Like Signal, for instance, does provide end-to-end encryption. So this means that
Signal
if there was
does not know what you're saying inside of Signal. They don't know.
Right. So this is a criticism. But yet, when I read those generic charges, right, the concern here is that this seems to be a throw everything at them, see what sticks. And these same charges could be applied to any messenger app, like a Signal, for instance.
Anything with encryption, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did Signal come in and register, provide cryptographic services designed to ensure confidentiality? Did they do that in France?
providing cryptographic assurances to services to provide confidentiality. If that was like listed in like this iOS app like feature button, I'd be like, oh, sick, download. You like use it.
It's it's scary. I
Yeah.
think it's scary. I think that this is a like a major sort of war on encryption prong, and a lot of people see it as such.
Just a little bit more about the architecture of Telegram. For those that don't use it, much of the crypto industry runs on Telegram. Like I have so many Telegram groups. I use it every single day. It allows for one-to-one conversations. It also allows for group chats that and also allows for chats that have channels for one-to-many broadcasting. Up to 200,000 people compared to the maximum of 1,000 for WhatsApp. And so there have been some concerns that you can spread misinformation this way. End-to-end encryption is not available for group chats and channels. End-to-end encryption, there is a privacy mode in Telegram where you can start an encrypted chat, a private chat with you and whoever's on the
Just
receiving
private
end.
DMs, me and you, we could do that,
Private
right?
DMs. Yeah. Not end-to-end encrypted. But that it is possible. But then the default mode of Telegram is, I think, the way I think this works is like default mode is actually like they are able to see the contents. Like they
It's plain
can
text.
review.
So Telegram,
it's
the
plain
company
text.
can, or any government agency that's spying on Telegram
Right.
and like requesting
Yes.
their data set, and Telegram submits it to them, can like see all of the chats in Telegram. Basically, that's not
Right.
like encrypted.
So generally, my rule of thumb when it comes to subjects like this is that if it can be regulated or controlled, then it should be regulated or controlled. And this is what differs from Signal in my mind, where Signal has built a structure where they literally cannot see what is going on there on the inside of the conversation. And so, in my mind, Signal and Signal founders are not at beholden to like the activity of the people using their tech platform. If you as a organization can see conversations and like see like image files being sent around and then like it's child porn, like that's to me that's a different story. How do you feel about that take?
Okay, so I think part of that take is reasonable and part of it's not. All right. So here's the part that's not reasonable from my perspective is like, okay, so the answer is just they yoink the guy and just like go directly to jail, and here's all of these
Oh
charges.
yeah.
Like that's a piece.
Yeah,
Like
no, I'm
how
not
about
agreeing with that at all.
and now they're also saying like he hasn't been cooperative and all of these things. So it's just like I don't know, maybe that this is the last escalation, so you could kind of defend that. But also look at the charges, David. Look, some
Yeah,
of these are
charges are
just
insane.
some of these charges could be directly applicable to what you just said, which is the use case of Signal.
Right.
And also,
Right.
there's sort of the broader context of this. If you like, step back and look at like the components of a free society, right? We need some sort of chat function between citizens that allows us to share information. There's all sorts of ignoring the illegal activity. There's all sorts of information that's being shared, front lines of the war, for instance, things that get censored in other places, things that maybe the state doesn't want you to say. I mean, in any free society, you need cloisters that are hidden from the eyes of the government. Like I think that that's an important function. And so I don't know, if not Telegram, then where? I mean, a billion, basically the inverse of this. Basically, the government saying, no, Pavel should have had a watcher, spies, inside of every private Telegram group inside of its app, reporting illegal activity to us. That's kind of the inverse of that. When you say it like that, I mean, that doesn't sound like a good equilibrium either, does it? So I hear what you're saying, and I hear that argument, and also I don't like where this is going, is what I would say.
Yeah, the trend is not healthy for sure.
Let's get to some comments. So this is the president of France, Macron. He says, I have seen false information regarding France following the arrest of Pavel Durov. So there's a lot of bad press. He says, in a state governed by the rule of law, freedoms are upheld within a legal framework, both on social media and real life, to protect citizens and respect their fundamental rights. He says, basically, this is the judiciary, fully independent. This is not political. This is not driven by France for some sort of, like political means. To arrest him.
Here's a funny tweet that we read. Imagine you own a large apartment complex. France says it is a legal requirement for you to put microphones in every room and let us listen. And you say, no, people should be able to have private conversations. And then you become arrested. That is the digital equivalent to what just happened to Pavel Durov. Vitalik who says, I've criticized Telegram before for not being serious about encryption, but given the info available so far, the charge seems to be just being unmoderated and not giving up people's data. This looks very bad and worrying for the future of software and comms freedom in Europe.
This is Gary Kasparov with an alternative take. He says, there's much to learn about Durov's arrest, but my first thought is not dependent on supposition or motivations. As admitted by Kremlin propagandists, Telegram is widely used by the Russian bureaucracy and military, so it has been used for acts of war and war crimes in Ukraine. He goes on and says a full thread, but it's basically Durov is not the person you think he is. Don't hold him up as a martyr or a hero. And by the way, we don't know. Maybe he was working with like the Russians. Maybe he's a KGB agent, right? There's some of that that's being injected here as well in the conversation. Like, who knows at this point?
An interesting tweet from Noel Atchison says, this is not about Telegram censorship. It's worse. It's about privacy. Durov's arrest is the latest and perhaps most blatant example to date of the role of layers in narrative misdirection. And she makes a couple points here. Authorities want to suppress certain channels and contributors, but reports suggest that the investigation was focused on the lack of moderators. This suggests that the issue is not about censorship, but responsibility. And also, second, authorities insist on having access to chats of political activists and military groups so that their intentions can be known ahead of time and their actions diverted. What's more, it's starting to feel blatant. The authorities don't seem bothered by how this looks. They're counting on the majority not caring as much as long as they feel safe. So kind of calling out the French leadership, saying this is bullshit. You guys are doing this for your own political motives.
Yeah, and before, by the way, we throw France under the bus, there was also speculation that some of this could be motivated by the U.S. The U.S. basically saying, "Hey, go do this." Who knows what goes on behind closed doors? But the broader point here is sometimes when you hear moderation, right, that can just be state speak for censorship, and it's some of these things are used one and the same. Telegram has a blockchain. They have a layer 1 blockchain called Ton. Yeah. What was the Telegram chain's reaction to this? What happened?
So the Ton community rallied, of course. There is a Ton Society Twitter account, which is call it the Telegram blockchain community. We've updated the Ton coin's logo and profile picture across the Ton community channels to the global symbol of the digital resistance, the resistance dog. Why a dog? In 2011, Pavel Durov was ordered to eradicate the posts of liberal thinkers and dissidents at his previous company, which was a social media platform in Russia. I can't pronounce the name. It's basically the Facebook of Russia. In response to this, Pavel posted a picture of his dog, refusing to silence anyone on his platform. The Ton Society announced an open letter mini app. They issued an open letter to French authorities requesting the immediate release of Pavel Durov. Anyone can sign it on the Telegram app. It has accrued 1.48 million signatures so far. So that's kind of cool when you have the distribution to do that.
I mean, that's a good point earlier. Pavel's history, my impression was always that the Russians were kind of out to get him. I mean, that's why he had to sort of free Russia. He became a citizen of France.
He made a social media platform in Russia. He made a social media platform, had to leave Russia in 2011 because if you get too much power in Russia and you're not part of the inner circle.
Yeah. If you're not censoring things, that's a problem for the Russian oligarchy.
Yeah. To capture power in Russia, you need to have that approved by the oligarchs. And so I think he was more or less an outsider, not kind of playing by these rules. And so he had to leave. He now is based in Dubai. Part of the story was that he was traveling to France with this model that was babe,
he was
let's go to France.
Catfished, posting location kind of thing. I saw this.
Well, that's the conspiracy was that she was posting pictures of them and it had all the geolocation data, and so she was just allowing him to be traced all around France. He was arrested at the airport, so they were gonna get him there anyways. But yeah, the joke is he just fell in love with his model who was babe, let's go to France, and then he gets arrested in France.
And there's also conspiracies wrapped in the conspiracy, maybe he intended to get arrested for some reason.
We have not heard of those.
Oh, you've not heard that? Okay, you got to go deeper, David. There's always a level deeper. So we don't know yet, but we do know, back to the Ton community and the Ton chain, Unfortunately, the Ton network stopped producing blocks a couple of times this week.
Probably
Went down.
completely unrelated. I am pretty sure this is completely unrelated.
Yeah, this was well, maybe it was related in a way. This was the result of network overload caused by high number of dog transactions. Maybe the dog transactions were related to the new like dog insignia and
a meme coin launched on Tong called Dogs as a result of the founder getting arrested. The Ton validators were overloaded, causing them to elude consensus, took the chain down. So I guess it is related. It is not coming from like, this is not a state-sponsored attack of Telegram. This is just
how do we even know that?
brand new blockchain with like not perfect consensus.
Are you sure about that?
Doesn't have much Lindy.
We could go deeper in the conspiracy.
God, I'm the conspiracy one. I lead us down the holes. You don't lead me down the conspiracy holes. I lead you down the conspiracy holes.
I think Macron like decided to launch this meme coin at just this time to take down the Ton network. Stop it producing blocks. One learning lesson from this is like, hey, layer ones are hard. Keeping them up is very difficult. Right. I mean, so like
especially if you don't have a spec or you're a single client blockchain.
Hey, now's not the time, David. I'll save that for another week. Let's talk about
the importance of multi-client blockchains. Is always the time to talk about multi-client designs.
Well, don't kick them while they're down.
To talk about that.
Ton price is down as well on the week, as you'd expect. I mean, like not a massive cut. I mean, we're back to
25%.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's just like one. It's one bad day.
I've seen worse.
What's one bad day?
We're back to April. That's where we're back to from a price perspective. I think something that's related to this is the question of like who's next. So I tweeted this out when it was on my mind. Arresting Pavel is just a step or two removed from arresting Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman or Vitalik Buterin. I said a step or two removed before you think I'm going to hyperbole, because there are still some steps that need to be completed there. But we're getting closer. We're getting into that vicinity, and
so you can Elon on X is like blatantly pro right, pro MAGA, pro Trump, anti Kamala, anti Democrats, and then like something like this happens, and like that makes sense.
Well, look at the charges, right? So like you could say, I'm sure there's somebody in some dark corner of Twitter, it probably wouldn't take long to find, that is doing like quote unquote illegal stuff. Right? Maybe sharing like images they shouldn't, maybe doing like drug deals. There's sure there are
plenty of porn on Twitter.
Right? Okay, but like there could be stuff that Elon's not monitoring, right? And if it just takes this, I mean, you have Balaji made this point. He's like, Emmanuel Macron has a like population of France of what, I don't know, population of France. We could look this up. I'm gonna say 70 million people, something like this. Does he know what's going on in the dark corners of like Paris streets? Is he monitoring that? Right. Or is there illegal activity going on? It's kind of like a network state thing of, is it unreasonable to expect the monitoring, the continuous monitoring of every single chat, every single tweet that's going on inside the platform? I think that's a question for like that all open societies need to go think about and consider.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.